Okay, yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Dalia. Um, we're gonna have about 2 to 3 minutes for everyone to join, so please stay with us and we're gonna start soon. All right. Uh, okay, yeah, I see a lot of people uh, already joining in, so let me just start. Uh, Before we jump into our webinar, let me just briefly describe what is Ideas, what we do, for those who don't know, and for people to remind them about that. So basically, on behalf of Ideas, I'm very excited to have you all today. Today's our topic is Data Strategy Essentials for Enterprise with Shefali Dua. Big thanks to everyone who can join us today. And for those who are just watching the video on our YouTube channel, hope you can join us online next time. So Ideas is International Data Engineering and Science Association. So it's a non-profit organization. We are like, our mission is to bridge the gap between academia and industry. So basically we are like very excited people about data science, machine learning, AI, and blockchains. And we are sharing this kind of enthusiasm with others. And we are like here to connect those passionate people from data science background with each other, to share the ideas, the thoughts, and just simply to collaborate. This is our roadmap. We started 2016, and we are moving across the whole country. We are hosting conferences in New York, Chicago, Boston, LA. 3 years ago, our first conference was held on UC campus, and later we just started to grow rapidly, organizing different things, different conferences, meetups, boot camps, and stuff like that. Apart from just conferences, we also have a lot of hackathons. This is our photos from SoCal conference at USC campus, the very first one. This is our New York Blockchain Leadership Connect. So if you are in New York right now, make sure you go to our website, ideas.org, ideassn.org, and just see if we have any meetups or conferences at USC. This is Chicago Blockchain. This is SoCal Conference at Los Angeles Convention Center, 2019, and we had almost like more than 300 speakers at this conference. It was a huge one. Yeah, as I told you, we also have a lot of meetups, different hackathons at different schools, like MIT, UC Irvine, UCLA, USC. Yeah, this is our website. Go to join ideas or ideassn.org. We also have Facebook page, LinkedIn page, Twitter, and YouTube. On our YouTube channel, and this is the QR code for our YouTube channel, you can go ahead and scan it, and then you will see all the webinars that we run until today. And this webinar is going to show on the page as well. So if you missed any of our wonderful Saturday webinars, just go ahead and check it out. And now, let me just introduce our wonderful speaker for today, Shefali. She is Global Strategic Deals Leader at Genpact, and she oversees strategic initiatives in AI, machine learning, data engineering, MDM, and analytics. She came from a deep technology consulting and advisory background, working for companies in North America, Asia. She has led multiple worldwide engagement, pre-sales, advisory boards, developed go-to-market plans, defined product roadmaps, well, she did a lot of things, and she's very experienced, provided program governance for large portfolios, and established a reliable partner alliance for companies, including Genpact, HP Enterprise Service, Microsoft, and Accenture. She has an MBA from UCLA, where she specialized in global leadership, tech management, finance, and entrepreneurship. Yeah, and she also completed different modules in Brazil, France, Hong Kong, and China. So, Shefali, I'm gonna pass the whole presentation to you right now. Shefali, are you with us?
Yes, thank you so much, Dalia. What an awesome what an awesome introduction, and thank you everyone for joining. Dalia, can I share my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Let me do that real quick. Thank you so much for taking the time today on a Saturday to come see the presentation. It really got me excited and gave me an opportunity to share what I've learned. And also I'm interested to know, what your ideas are, what your pain points are. And let's make this interactive. So do let me know if there are any questions via chat or via audio, and we'll essentially go from there. As Dalia mentioned, the topic for today is data strategy essentials for enterprise. I have a very clean agenda for you today. It's almost I won't go into too advanced things, but primarily what by the end of the presentation I want you guys to take back is why, where, what of data strategy. Key industry examples that I want to leave you with, and just to get you thinking on, how do you think from an enterprise perspective, how do you mingle data strategy with your business strategy, and how to define that. What is your specific role in pushing a data governance model or a data strategy model in your enterprise? We'll end it with a recap of key takeaways and what comes next, and we'll go from there. So let's start with the why, where, what, if you may. So, on a sadder note, last year, we know the Boeing 737 crashed. It was an airplane a design which was like ahead of its time. The engine was optimized with all of its engineering marvel. Unfortunately, there were 2 flight crashes. At this point, we do not know if it'll ever fly again. When we looked at if you look at, what the engineers found as a key issue in those crashes, the pilots were unable to determine the accurate speed and altitude of the plane. And because of that, its automated maneuvering system would take a nosedive when the plane should have gone up. And that led to a crash and a complete imbalance. How is it relevant now? In my mind, that was a complete failure when it comes to information governance. They failed to provide reliable data from different sources and essentially say that, okay, this is nice and critical, and you can now make business decisions on top of it, right? I want to talk about one more thing today. The Mori Towers, the Japanese skyscrapers, which is known to be one of the most earthquake resistance building, and they have done so by installing 192 shock absorbers all the way to the top of the building. And it's done to, essentially it's built in a fashion where it can respond to earthquakes of high intensity and make it still a safe environment to live even after the earthquake. In my mind, this is essentially a successful case of connected agility. You are able to respond to your environment conditions in real time by eliminating a rigid structural architecture, going to a more fluid structure, which is in line and in tune with the environment that you're in, and you're quickly able to respond while having no damage to the core structure. I also want to draw your attention to Apollo 11's mission, which was a huge success. One of the reasons why it was a huge success was they were able to calculate the distance between Earth and Moon and the entire path very, very accurately. So, most of the maneuvering was done here on Earth, and only the instructions which had to be like course correction maneuvers were sent back to the spaceship, where the astronauts would execute those instructions. So see how important the accuracy of the data had to be for that mission to be successful. The calculations done at that time are actually used today to calculate flight paths, flight times, when it'll land, how much fuel it'll take. And it's a very, very essential, integral part of making that mission successful. So in my mind, high data quality is a strong tenet of executing your business goals. So this is why, in my mind, why data strategy? So let's get into it. Why now? Why now? So as you know, the volume of data is exploding in every, in almost, we have become a very data-centric society. Almost every organization has collected a lot of data. And there is a new demand which has come about, where you want to make more data-driven decisions in tune with your customers' ask, in tune with the market ask, in tune with the competitive forces acting against you or with you, and go from there. Gartner has projected by 2022, data would be mentioned as a critical enterprise asset, essential for achieving growth. This is not just limited to big companies. This is also true for startups who are just starting. You are expected to respond to real time, to outside forces, to inside, and essentially go from there. What are the challenges though in achieving that? In today's time, the systems are completely disconnected, and they're disparate sources of data which contain stale data, and we don't know what's right, what's wrong. There is a need to have like proactive measures of to comply to regulatory requirements as well, and most organizations do not have that in place. So where would essentially data strategy help? What it would truly enable you to do? Apart from high speed, better decisions, more optimal processes, smarter models to work with, it truly helps you to become more competitive and more aware and make more serious decisions. One of my mentors, essentially, when we were talking on the subject of competitive intelligence, explained it in a very beautiful way. One was that you have to protect yourself from three big threats. One is the roaring rhinoceros. You know that guy is coming after you. You know the characteristics of that threat. You know they are coming after this piece of the business, and you need to know how to respond to it. The second threat is the black swan threat. You don't know they are coming, and all of a sudden they are there. You need to be able to respond to those black swans, right? What do you do that, there are small startups who are working on smaller areas of the business, and before you know it, they are there. The third one is the white elephant in the room. So think of like an Amazon or a Google, who's essentially, entering like the healthcare market, or they're entering they're entering consumer goods. They're coming in so many areas. How do you quickly address the white elephant, the rhinoceros, and the black swans? The only way to do it is to be the tiger who roars and disrupts your own model before these guys come to you. Right? That's the only way to survive in business. And we've seen this over and over again. Businesses that have survived the test of time have disrupted their models, have reemerged, and the ones who didn't are now extinct. So having new business models available to essentially deploy on a moment's notice, or respond really quickly, that can happen only and only if your enterprise is connected, your strategy is connected with operations, your operations is connected with sales, your sales is connected with HR, and everything is a well-oiled machinery which reacts to the command that the brain made, right? And that comes with data strategy. It comes with connected planning, end-to-end, with a feedback loop. So what is essentially, I want to make sure the definition of data strategy is right. Business strategy is essentially going from medium to short-term goals, and having the means and what is the objective to be achieved, as well as the means to achieve. On the other hand, data strategy is the plan for improving and managing your processes, and how do you exploit data, what's the intent of it, and then what would be the means. So that is what your data strategy should essentially encompass and define, not only the objectives, but also the means to accomplish it. Well, the enterprise needs are definitely enough. This is a non-exhaustive list of stakeholders that would typically be interested in enterprise-wide data. It includes from business functions who want self-serve data, from sales who want really promising leads. They don't want to waste time on things that are not high potentials to begin with. You want operation wants like smaller cycle times. You want a very integrated demand and supply connection where almost you have like an intelligent supply chain system. Procurements are faster. From a strategy perspective, the strategy group essentially wants an awareness of a feedback loop of what we define. How's it working? And what have the conditions that we took the decisions in have now changed? How should we modify it? And if we do modify it, how does it affect operations? How does it affect HR? How does it affect our vendors? And there has to be a connected way of looking through all of this, while also making finance happy, who's typically on the defense, making sure that they have spend awareness, they are proactively managing your revenue, whereas keeping the customer in the center, who's on the complete end of the spectrum, who's looking for superior experience, just-in-time solutions at very, very optimal cost, right? So bringing all of that together, bringing all of these needs and together, these stakeholders together, is not a simple task. So what I generally recommend is you start with one small group, and then you eventually make your way up. Executing a small piece of work is not a problem, but having a small vision is a problem. So as long as your vision is that, okay, the end game is to be connected all end to end, you will make the right decisions as you put the building blocks together. But having that blueprint in mind early on will set you up for success and not pigeonhole you into, okay, I solved the HR problem with a workday and now I'm good. No, you're not good. You did not think about other aspects of it. You did not think about let's say the day you announced your a new product line, another product was launched by your competitor. How does it affect your operations plan? How does it affect your promotions plan? How does it affect campaigns? So all of that comes together if you're monitoring the right amount of data outside and inside, and everything else is connected. So what does truly data strategy will help you enable over here? It's the speed to analytics. It's the speed to having like a sound data foundation, curated visions, visualizations of how you can quickly act on what your data is telling you, right? Data does not become actionable all by itself. And there's another layer of processing that has to happen. And this predictive, prescriptive nature of data, if you have to achieve that, you have to have a sound strategy in place to achieve it. In our experience, essentially what I've seen is that companies go through 4 stages. One is incubate, when they're testing a new product or a new data application out. They go through scale, very quickly come to optimize, and institutionalize is the 4th one, which they truly need a pro player to achieve. Most of the companies today are either at scale or optimize, where they are generating data, but they still don't know how to optimize it, or they've kind of optimized it, but they don't know how to institutionalize it. Institutionalize it is data is talking to you and is embedded in almost every key decision, and your systems and processes and people react to it real time, fairly fast and fairly accurately, right? Let me pause over here. Any questions so far?
I think so far we're good, Shefali.
Okay.
We don't have any questions so far. Yeah.
All right. Let me keep going here. So, what does successful data strategy entail? So, in my mind, it starts from level 1 to level 5. Level 1 is having alignment with your business priorities. So making sure that your prioritization of which data systems, which processes, which areas of the business you are addressing are truly big pain points and align with your broader business strategy. Most enterprises are almost defining their business strategy and data strategy at the same time. So it's so streamlined. Some of the most advanced organizations are doing this as we speak. This is followed by the next level of awareness, which is the people, processes, policy, culture. It is important to, it's an important element of, almost comes right after that. As soon as you have your business priority alignment, you want to make sure you have people, processes, tech, and systems also enabled, and there's policies and rules and governance in place which respond to it. On the next portion of it is the augmented intelligence layer, which is more around visualization, predictive, prescriptive analytics, where essentially it helps improve faster decision making, and from insights to actions is typically a rapid, quick process. On the bottom of it is the data management layer, where your master data sits. It's a strategic advantage that any enterprise can ask for in today's date. It's very tough to get the golden record of data, but slowly and steadily, it's an enterprise-wide initiative that's typically driven from top to bottom is to get that MDM portion of it right? Followed by that is data quality, data integration, and on the bottom of it is a content management layer, which is more of a bottoms-up thing, making sure that all your data sources, all your content management systems are essentially accounted for, and all the assets are properly cataloged, right? So in a truly successful, fully integrated data strategy, all of this would be in place. Okay, so as you're building this, you do, what I did want to call out for some of the most important aspect of it is breaking silos. This is a different, one of the biggest issues in actually getting this implemented, especially for firms that have been around for a long time, is addressing silos and breaking boundaries between two departments, or, if they were if a company was formed after a lot of acquisitions and mergers, now they have so many systems. How do you break those barriers? How do you make sure there is alignment and engagement from key stakeholders, and your business is essentially ready to make those changes? Removing barriers would be very important. Identifying what those problems would be, who your true champions are, who should you align to, and there is visual support for your initiative becomes extremely critical. The guiding principles, again, it goes back to you want data to insights which can be trusted. So, if the data is not reliable, or there was latency, and now you're making wrong decisions from a procurement perspective, or a supply chain perspective, or an ops perspective, it won't pan out, right? So making sure that the guiding principles are understood by the key stakeholders involved is extremely important. Treat that as a formal, full-blown enterprise initiative, and then you essentially go across. Now, well, this is a lot of it is theory. Let me make it a little bit real for you by taking you through some industry examples. I wanted to bring your attention to a very interesting, a very awesome project I'm super proud of that my company Genpact took in extinctive racing in Formula E. This was the 5th season when Genpact partnered with EVR, and we teamed up to essentially improve the performance of the team on the race. We were able to uncover a lot of insights by using AI and analytics on vast and humongous amount of data. Essentially, think of it, in this particular engagement, what we kept at the center of it was winning the race. And around it emerged like 3-4 business cases, which included not only operations optimization, use of alternative data, building peak performance, predictive maintenance, and customer engagement. So all of that essentially was coming down almost in the middle of, how do you win the race? So to give you an example, what we did was we created like, when you're racing, what happens is the speed of, when to accelerate or when to slow down is extremely important. It's directly proportional to, how much of the engine's charge that you use. This is an electric car racing, and you only get like 250 kW of electricity to run the circuit. and you have to use it in the most optimal fashion. The driver who did not finish it did not use their resources well. So it becomes extremely important for us to predict, okay, you know, when there is going to be congestion in the circuit, when to slow down, when to not, and when to take a break and essentially use your fan boost where you're able to gain extra points, if they are able to gain extra points, they're able to get an extra charge. That becomes extremely critical when it comes to split second difference between the person who wins the race versus the loser, right? So what we did over here was we built them a solution called Leo, which is Lap Estimate Optimizer. We took into account lots of data sources, including what's the temperature of the track, what's the how much is the the humidity in the air, what is the past performance of the people who are the drivers on the race that are going in there, what is the length of the track. We went with them to like 5 different cities across the world, and every track was a very different track, and we would change the driver as well. So one driver's behavior would be very different than the other one. One was too aggressive, the other one was a little bit more reserved. So you have to change your strategy on, you know, what you recommend as the next best action, depending on, you know, the real-time circumstances, looking at lots of simulation of data, and essentially making sure that you're giving the best you're giving them the best advice possible. All right, so and at the end of the day, we were also had lots of sensors deployed on the car, which were feeding us the information back on which particular part of the car needed repair. So when the driver stopped, we knew exactly where to focus, and we would quickly repair the car and essentially send it out out on the circuit to race again. Giving you another example of a leading power generation company that we worked with, what they had was there was a big issue over there where their vendor relationships were suffering because of unreliable procurement data. So, and there was a need, there would be like disparate systems. The vendor would have their own systems, the business had their own systems, and that had led to a lot of confusion as well as finger pointing, and, you know, just left a bad taste. Also, what we found out was that the company was very sensitive to market changes, whether, you know, if the currency change happened, or there was a issue at the location, or, you know, there was some even slight changes in the market would have a big effect on, you know, when do you want to get the delivery, who do you want to work with. And so what we did was we put like a whole data engagement hub together, which would give an end-to-end view of their systems, of where their procurement spend is. So what that helped the company do was they were empowered to now make on-the-fly decisions of which vendor do we want to go with. Or which plant or which delivery location should we actually get the delivery on, and do this on the fly. This can be extremely complicated given the size and the number of vendors that this company was managing, and putting this together. The key to success was deploying about 200 key performance indicators, monitoring them constantly to make sure, you know, how can we further optimize. It's not an overnight journey. It's a slow and steady climb, if you may, but having the right indicators, surfacing the right data can truly help you on your journey to continuous improvement, if you may. By getting this, by putting the governance model in place and establishing a reliable data source, we were also able to scale it further by now deploying AI and ML models, which in the past were not successful because the data was never reliable, right? So small things led to big changes for the customer. They were able to significantly reduce their cost spend as well. Another example was with a healthcare provider where they were essentially, they didn't know where to get the, how do they increase their share of market, right? So they were looking to improve their conversion rates. So what we did was, and there were lots and lots of data that was thrown from outside the company, within the company, and there was no way to operationalize it or make good decisions on it. And we essentially helped them put like a hub and spoke model, where we operationalized the delivery of a common model and for their sales and marketing databases. And what it actually led to was almost like a 30-40% increase in their Medicare conversion rates. This was another $55 million in opportunity. We also protected them for about $25 million of revenue loss for protecting them from regulatory compliance, if you mean. So what's the different kind of data elements that you want to collect was extremely important. And by operationalizing the delivery of their analytics and data projects, we were able to help them essentially achieve phenomenal results. There is one more example I wanted to cover was improving asset management and financial planning. We worked with one, just give me a second, I'll just pause.
All right. Meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, feel free to type your questions in the chat box.
Really sorry about that. Okay, so.
Sure, yeah.
So improving asset and financial planning, we worked with a large asset management firm. They had very nascent degrees of, master data management. And it was extremely tough for us to see the distribution of the assets for their clients, and do they have an optimal strategy or not. We found out that almost the same asset manager would have success for one client, whereas the other one was not optimal. And even with some slight changes in how they distribute their assets, their client could truly benefit even from existing investments. So we helped them design a data hub on cloud, which essentially brought all of this together. And there were tangible and intangible benefits of about $2 million per year. We were almost immediately able to realize, even with a short POC, if you may. They also won the Celent Award for an innovative approach for innovative approach to asset management, and they also fared very high NPS ratings. So I want to zoom in and come back to from an individual perspective. How can you help drive data strategy in your companies, in your businesses, in your departments, and essentially go from there? In my mind, it truly starts with a change in behavior of a single individual. Once you change your behavior and become hyper aware of how you're making decisions, and are they informed decisions, becomes a norm, and not the exception, you almost fall back on, okay, is this reliable data or not? Okay, okay, you're recommending this, but what is how did you arrive at this? So certain behaviors, like rather than being calendar based, be event based. Go from results to drivers, from target oriented to almost scenario oriented. From budget based, okay, this is the spend we have, to forecast based, okay, what should we think of in the upcoming days. From a variance analysis to almost like an experience led decision analysis. From a paper and a spreadsheet format, go to a multi-channel or a mobile format where you're able to look at multiple things at the same time. And rather than being like account centric, be like decision centric, and we go from there. Some of my key takeaways and a call to action to all of you would be, as you start working on some of the data initiatives that you're doing, frame the problem from a business outcomes perspective. what outcome are you going to drive for the business? Is it going to be top line? Can you increase the revenue? Are you going to help them save on operation costs? Or is this going to be a completely new business model that you come up with? What is the give over here from a business perspective? And when you frame the problem in that way, you will pick the right problem from the different, so many requests you get on a typical basis. I would strongly urge you to build a real-time repository for analytics of data in your organization to provide predictive and prescriptive and descriptive analytics. Take the time to make sure that this data is trusted. You can truly make reliable decisions on top of it. Think of secondary, tertiary sources of information that validate that data as well. And make sure that this is in harmony when it's surfaced at the business level. You're truly giving them the right insights and the right caveats and the accuracy percentages to drive business action, if you may. So even small mistakes, when you roll them up, they become really big. Like the Apollo 11, if let's say there was a 0.5% error per mile in getting there, that would be about, that will put you off by about 25,000 miles, completely missing the moon, right? And this is exactly what's happening in today's businesses as well. We are making decisions on bad data, and do your best to eliminate bad data, have strong processes, mature processes which help you get there. I would also recommend 3 different reads. The Chief Data Science, the Data Officer Playbook is a great book to read. The 4 would also get you thinking on how Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google, came to the hidden DNA and why these companies are thriving. The Innovator's Dilemma is also a fantastic film on why some firms have continued to thrive versus the others have not. And key to that is having disruptive models and the ability and the agility and the nimbleness to react in real time. Well, that's it from my side. She did give a good introduction, so I won't cover this, but that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Shefali. That was like a very interesting presentation, especially the project part. While we don't have questions so far, I guess people are still processing your presentation. So meanwhile, let me just ask you one question. So this project about Formula E racing, that was like very outstanding and interesting project. So I wonder how does the data processing went? Was it like real time, or it was all on the repeated action and data training during the race preparation? How did it work?
So it worked on both models, if you may. Some were, we did like driver-led simulations beforehand, where we would collect that as about 500 nodes of data that were, simulations prior to the race. And then we entered the race in the 5th season. So we did have some prior information from previous races on the other drivers as well. We were also looking at real time the day, what is the conditions of the track, where is everyone on the track. So that was also happening, plus our own vehicle, where it is. Also, there was another element to it that we also had to take care of, that every season the car improves. The goal of the race is to drive innovation in terms of electric cars. So the technology itself has improved. So you can take everything from a holy grail perspective. There were some offsets that had to be applied, assuming that certain portions of that has further improved, right? So it was not only just taking prior simulation data, that we again made it really big by intelligently making it a bigger pool to about like 5 million nodes, and created that test training set to make the next best action. So yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Thank you so much, Shefali. Okay, you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to type the question in the Q&A box or chat box. Don't be shy. Okay. And meanwhile, let me ask a second question then. So Genpact, apart from just building a data strategy, you also provide data architecture. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. So it's an end-to-end provider. We actually not just do data architecture. We also do, we also look at your processes to optimize them end-to-end. Like we'll take like a whole supply chain process, look at it from a procurement perspective, look at it from a, how can we optimize it from a demand supply, and then get into data sources and digital transformation underneath it, and go from there. So yes.
So like looking from the zooming out to the whole process as you build the whole strategy of data pipelines, what is like the main painful process you would stress out looking from company to company?
Yeah, actually, there's like multiple issues in actually putting this together and putting the data pipeline together. The one main issue is just getting access to the right stakeholders at the beginning of it, and truly, identifying that this is high priority data. This aligns with your business priorities, and this is truly optimized. So when we get in there, it's primarily, everyone feels that, they are optimized in their world, and now this is good to go. Let's migrate it, put it in the cloud, and, connect it with the rest of the universe. What we find out most of the times is it's a silos island and not the universe. So, so one of the banks that we were working with, and we were trying to get their reporting optimized, and we were to do it from a region perspective, from a city, region, country, and then continent perspective, and roll all of those things up. And we found so many inconsistencies in how they defined what is metadata. And it was optimized for their department, maybe for the region, but as soon as you rolled it up, everything came crashing. So we almost had to stop the integration of the data pipeline project and switch back to saying, okay, let's first fix your master data, and then we'll come to the execution portion of it. Right? So yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. We have a question from Suyan Lee. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. So is there any specific example for data strategy of financial planning or asset management?
So from a financial planning perspective, let me give you an example of a recent thing we did with a pharma company. What we did was we took over their FP&A function, and essentially what we did as part of that was we looked at their spend from a perspective of which other suppliers are they working with. We also took and optimized their data lake to bring it online and see where are the shortcomings, and put almost like a enterprise performance management dashboard on top to see where is the spend coming from. And what we realized was that there was a delay in invoicing the customer, and that led to a delay in getting the revenue recognized. And just that KPI in itself, once we changed that, we were able to essentially realize more revenue, which we would have never seen had that KPI not been in place. There are multiple such examples of it. Actually, we quite focus on FP&A planning. In a particular, if you Google like Cardinal Health, we actually took out their entire unit and made it part and rebadged it as Genpact, where we not only took over their FP&A function, but also their data functions and analytics functions as well. And we've made that as a hub for FP&A analytics in Dublin, Ohio. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, very useful example. Thank you so much, Suyan Lee. I hope your question is answered. The second question from Suyan Lee is that is there any experience using data strategy for governmental budgeting or planning?
We are not into governmental budget planning, but let me give you an example of user experience where we led from an investment bank perspective. What we did over there was this particular bank had invested a lot of money in building like an enterprise-wide data lake, but they hadn't really achieved any business outcomes. So what we did was we put an experienced team together, which focused on a particular use case of, saying that how can we how can we surface this small portion of the data to the asset manager to make decisions. And what we did was we deployed a methodology, which was, almost you can call it as like just in time data, where the data lake was prepared just to power that particular use case. And we started looking at, and once that was deployed, we moved them from their spreadsheet based systems to essentially a cloud, more real-time system, where they were not only looking at data on their desks, but things that were coming from outside external agencies, from within the company, and improve their ability to make the right decisions for investments versus what they were doing on spreadsheets. For more specifics, do so send me your email and I'll get you connected with some of our data architects, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Lee, I hope your question is answered. If you would like to share your contacts in the chat box so that Shefali can specifically direct to all the questions that you might have. Right? Right?
Sure, yes.
Okay, so we have time for more questions. So guys, if you feel like you have some doubts or questions, feel free to type that in the Q&A box or chat box. Meanwhile, we have a small poll. So if you have time, please share your opinion about the webinar itself and the platform. Yep. Okay, so no questions so far, and we still have a little bit of time. Oh, there is one question. Okay, question from Ibrahim. Any tips on how to get our company to adopt and institutionalize a data and analytics approach?
So in my mind, the key portion to it is what I said was culture, and getting alignment and engagement from key stakeholders to institutionalize it. What I've also seen is, there's in my company, there's a whole enterprise-wide initiative. It's called the Data Literacy Initiative, where we are attacking the problem from multiple areas. We truly believe that high quality training is important to bring about that cultural change. Having that importance of how you can, or the tools of how you can process data, or how you can visualize data, and how you can make business decisions out of it. If you don't have those skill sets, it becomes tougher to get to that cultural change. So slowly and steadily deploy programs where you have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 type of courses. And those are kind of already readily available. You just have to make sure that they become an organization priority, so that more and more people are spending time and becoming more serious about it. We've also seen that we actually look at it is to bring cultural change. It's important to also change the experience of the person. So what we've done is we've actually circulated people from the business to come and work with the analytics teams, with the digital teams, and then circulate back into business functions. And then, even from the analytics team, we've sent some folks to the business areas, and they bring their expertise, and it becomes almost like a lethal combination in business, where now you have this new class of bilinguals who not only speak business, but they also speak data and analytics, right? And that's that makes you an extremely powerful resource to have in that team, and you bring about that cultural change.
All right, thank you so much, Shefali. Ibrahim, I hope your question is answered. If you have any more questions, feel free to type it in. Okay. So there's like Garnell says the lecture was really great. It's a small comment. All right, so we don't have any questions so far, and the time is almost up. Let me say, Shefali, thank you so much on behalf of Ideas We really appreciate the business that you do and the efforts. And I know timing is not the right, like it's evening, Saturday, but yeah, thank you so much for doing that. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. Shefali, I hope we collaborate more in the future. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for doing this, and it's such a good initiative, and I truly appreciate you bringing the community together. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. So I'm gonna leave the poll for everyone who just didn't complete the poll yet. And I guess this is it for now. If you would like to share this specific lecture with your colleagues or your students or everyone you would like to see the lecture, we will distribute the link through LinkedIn channel and also through our weekly newsletters. So yeah, stay tuned.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, bye now.